Hello and welcome to Aztecs All In, the podcast that goes all in on San Diego State sports. I'm Louis Weiner along with Steve Perez. We are two Aztec alums with decades of experience in local media who love San Diego State sports. Don't we, Steve? How are you today?
Yes, sir. And I am as pert as a cut-tail lizard. Louis, you might say I'm all in.
All in as we are in this week's edition. Brady Hoke talks about what fans can expect at FansFest this weekend at Snapdragon Stadium. Cornerback Dallas Branch talks about how his relationship with Jalen Mayden when he was playing defensive back has changed now that he's playing quarterback. The Pac-12 blows up, and perhaps so does San Diego State's chances of moving to a Power 5. How San Diego State's innovative Aztecs Go Pro program is preparing athletes for the future, and legendary San Diego State head coach Don Coryell is inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That is really exciting, but right now Brady Hoke, the current coach, is getting ready for this season, right, Steve?
Him and the rest of the squad. Louis, the weeks keep getting bigger for the San Diego State Aztecs football team. Monday after practice, Brady Hoke was asked about various players out of practice for various injuries. He didn't budge from coach speak on that one, no discussing injuries. And besides, those are part of the game. Next man up. We were interested in getting insight from the coach about the approach to the scrimmage, that's the highlight of Saturday's FanFest, at the what am I talking about? I mean the Snapdragon saying I knew that.
Number one, we got to learn how to play in that stadium. There's a lot of new guys, a lot of locker rooms different. I mean, there's a lot of things that are different. So we need to do a good job educating them all that, how we come into the stadium, how we take the field, all those kind of things. So I'm excited about that. And, it will be a pretty hefty scrimmage in a lot of situations in the kicking game we need to really look at. First half will be first quarter, second quarter, 15, and then third and four will be running clock.
Okay. And then would you stop down at certain points and rerun plays, or we treat it as a rule?
No, it won't be as much a game-like. I mean, we're going to try and make it game-like.
Right.
But, we're going to have a number of plays that, like last week when we were moving the field, it was going to be a minimum of 8 plays. And so we got that, we hit that mark, and then we'll do the same thing this week. The kicking game will take a little bit more front and center this week.
And hey, seriously about the sports writers and the injuries. The beat writers covering the team for the San Diego Union Tribune and the East Village Times, they gotta ask about it. And also, seriously, if you really want to delve deeply into the details of the Aztecs football program, they do a great job. I just miss the daily paper in days when you had multiple writers for multiple editions out there trying to outdo each other. It's competition, man. It improves the breed.
So, Steve, I'm really looking forward to seeing the team play in front of fans at Snapdragon this weekend. And one of the players on the field, cornerback Dallas Branch, has an interesting story because he was teammates with Jalen Mayden last year when Mayden was playing safety. He was playing defensive back. We asked Branch what's it like now playing with Mayden now that he's at quarterback compared to defensive back.
We're going to rely on him, so I'm going to help him any way he can, whether it's, trying to read coverages, tell him what my technique is on certain plays, so, he has a better understanding of knowing, what's coming, so we, kind of limit them interceptions and stuff. And then, we also, talk trash a little bit, so if I pick him off, I'm definitely going to let him know. It just makes it really fun out here and helps everybody get better. I think he's real poised. I feel like nothing's too big for him, no matter the situation. He's a great guy. Everyone just naturally just rallies around him. He's funny, charismatic, and we just love playing for him.
Now you got the quarterback position. It was set last season, and then it wasn't, and now it feels like it's really set this season. So good to hear about having some solidity at a key position for the San Diego State Aztecs, Louis.
Absolutely, Steve. And while we're focusing on football, unfortunately, we need to go back to the conference fiasco.
Ah!
I know, where it seems San Diego State's dreams of moving to a Power 5 washed away with the Pac-12 sort of disintegrating before our eyes within just what seemed 24 hours, when it appears the Pac-12 would reach some sort of agreement with a grant of rights and a media deal, and a possible invitation for San Diego State to the Pac-12. Suddenly, Oregon and Washington decided to bolt for the Big Ten, leaving the Pac-12 down to the Pac-4 with Stanford and Cal, Washington State and Oregon State. So all these dreams of 1 year talking about San Diego State moving to the Pac-12 has sort of dissipated, and now the Pac-12 is pretty much gone, leaving San Diego State in the Mountain West Conference, and with no real push or future, it appears, right now into a Power 5, Steve.
Let's see. Well, I wrote some things down here. Let's see. The Packet In Conference. What do you think about that for the new name? How about the Pack Your iPhone Conference? No? How about this one then? The Mini-Me Snob Conference. That one is done. At this point, it's time to look forward and control the things you can control. The Aztecs can control their performance in their respective sports, on the football field, on the basketball court. Do what they can there and let everything else take care of itself if it does.
I think fans want to move to what's happening on the field. I think all this talk over this last year of conference realignment is sort of just, everybody's tired of it and exhausted. So I think it's exciting now that we've got football season coming up and we could focus on that.
Well, yeah, I know I am. What do you call that? Realignment exhaustion? Done. And now to Aztecs Going Pro, at least a little taste. 16 student athletes in 13 Aztec athletics departments, getting some on-the-job training. But it's not just a summer internship program. Aztecs All In learned that firsthand in a recent interview with Danielle Kelly, Associate Athletic Director in Student Athlete Development, who's in charge of Aztecs Going Pro.
It started 8 years ago. I've been here now 4. So we have a great infrastructure here at San Diego State, and it makes us extremely unique. We are the only school in the country to have a 4-year student athlete development program where our student athletes take a 1-unit course with us each year. So if they start with us as a freshman, they'll have left with 4 different courses and 4 units towards graduation when they have those elective units.
And what's the goal at the end of those 4 years? What do you hope the student athletes acquire in that?
That's great. So we focus on our 10 tangible tools, and within those tools we really look at 3 overarching areas: our career development, personal growth, and civic engagement. So ultimately, starting as a freshman, our goal is that they just leave here with the tools they need to be successful for their next venture in life, whether it's out of the pool, off the field, whatever that might look like for them. So that might be grad school, professional graduate school. They might be going into a full-time job or looking at a gap year. Also, our students going into pro sports. So that's kind of our three different areas that our students end up exploring, and we just want to make sure that once they are ready for that transition, that throughout our program, one of the focus is obviously their transferable skills. So as a Division I student athlete, they have so many skills that employers and that are really looking for. We get so many employers that reach out, I want to hire student athletes. So we really try to get them to understand what that means and how they can take that craft that some of them have been playing since they've been 3 years old, and how they apply that to their next chapter in life, which, a lot of the data shows it can be so challenging for a student athlete to, hang up their cleats, hang up their swim cap, whatever sport they're playing. But really it's getting them to realize that time is not wasted. They have they are, really set apart from a lot of their peers in terms of what they've practiced and how they can go in and now be really competitive in their next stage of their lives, whether that's a career or whether they're looking to go to grad school to then go on to a different career. So we really hope that our students leave with things like resumes, cover letters, informational interviews. We're getting them on all the different platforms like LinkedIn, Aztec Network. We do a lot with leadership and values, in our sophomore class, really helping them understand who they are and how they can work well with others. I mentioned the transferable skills earlier. That's definitely a key throughout. And we're also doing informational interviews is a key throughout because, as we know, the data shows it's not necessarily what they know, it's who they know. So we're really helping them, pushing them with growing their web throughout the way with getting them on some of these platforms early, like LinkedIn, sophomore year, Aztec Network, getting them to career fairs, getting them to some of our signature networking event. So by the time they've left here, one of their tools in their toolbox is professionals that they're able to connect with.
So when those employers call and say, I want to hire a student athlete, what are you able to tell them they've got that helps them, the employers?
Yeah, a lot of we work with the NACE Transferable Skills, which is the national organization for colleges, career centers on college campuses. So a lot of that data shows that our student athletes have those. So employers are looking for things like time management, organization, leadership. So if you actually look at the data, the first 9 skills, if you will, that have 50% and higher that employers are looking for, they all scream student athlete. You can't be a student athlete without having those skills in terms of that leadership, hard work, facing adversity. So that's 9 times out of 10. Competitiveness is another one. That's why they're looking for our wonderful student athletes, because they have practiced that for some of them, like I said earlier, since they've been 3-4 years old, and it's kind of ingrained in them, and those are a lot of skills that can't be taught.
So this is required.
Mm-hmm.
When students hear required, that's like, so when the students are coming on board, is this something that they're looking forward to as something that they know they need to learn? Or is there hesitancy, I'm coming here, I want to just play my sports and focus? So how do they accept that when they first learn about it? We operate under the one-size-fits-all model as with that required. And so every student is unique in their journey. So if I told you every freshman ran into class so excited, I would not be telling the truth. So it's a college campus, and we teach our classes at night. So some of them, if you talk to them, it's because it's at night and they've already woken up at 4:30 a.m. for their practice, and now they've got to be in class from 7 to 7:50. So they're tired and hungry. It's right after practice. But for others, it just depends when along their journey they get inspired and really feel like they need this information. So what I tell people is the golden rule of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. We work really hard to make them drink the water. And a lot of times it's a teammate that might be inspiring them. So my goal is to just inspire one student athlete at a time, and then sometimes they all do the work for me. I can, some unnamed sports since I've been here, I came in that weren't as bought in, the student athletes, and now it's incredible to watch how they are just the complete opposites. My students now sitting in the front, they're more into it, they're asking questions, they want to connect with people, and I really say it's because of their peers. They feel like they're being left out. So I get a peer up there that's talking about this great internship they got. Now all of a sudden you see them kind of perk up, and they want to know why they didn't get that opportunity and what they can do. So students start to try a little harder, stay after class, come in during the week and utilize us as a resource.
Yeah, we have plenty more on that coming up, including an interesting interview with Christiana Williams, a junior on the Aztecs swimming and diving team. She had a whirlwind season, won the Mountain West titles in 100 and 200 meter breaststroke, qualified for nationals, and she is now in the Aztecs Going Pro program. She is a quality individual. You'll want to hear more about her story and even more about the program as soon as we can get the rest of it out the door. Right, Louis?
Yeah, she was so impressive. I was so impressed with her. She has a future in the medical field. She wants to become a doctor, and she realizes that her athletic career will soon be over, and she is focused on what she will do in the future. And it's very interesting, and I hope you get a chance to hear what she has to say.
Yeah, I always like hearing about the athletes who are also students, adding a different dimension. We know what they do on the field of endeavor or in the swimming pool or on the soccer pitch, but a chance to actually get to know them more as actual scholars or student athletes is all part and parcel of being in part of the Aztec Going Pro program.
Right, and that's what this podcast is all about, introducing you to some of these people that you otherwise might not get to know about. So we'll bring that to you later this week, and we hope you enjoy listening to it. One last thing before we go. Coryell is now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Don Coryell, longtime head coach at San Diego State, who really went innovative offensively when he moved to the NFL with Coryell and Dan Fouts and those great Charger teams. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this week, finally, years after he should have been, and his daughter Mindy Coryell was there to introduce him.
The hardest thing for me, my brother, and the rest of our family is to challenge what my dad would have said if he were here. So I'll do my best. Here's hoping I don't channel his lisp. What I'm sure of is that he'd be humbled, grateful, and maybe just a bit surprised that his legacy has lived on for all these years and is now forever recognized as being worthy of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Growing up, my dad was just my dad, or Pop. The stories that you might have heard about him being so focused on football that he'd forget that I was in the car driving me and the trash to San Diego State, go Aztecs, rather than dropping me off at the school bus stop and the trash at the bottom of our very, very long, steep driveway are all absolutely true.
Yes, sir. Don Coryell, Aztecs head football coach. He was inducted in the Aztecs Hall of Fame in 1988, winning as coach in Aztec history, a record of 104, 19-2. Brought San Diego State national prominence, won 3 bowls and 3 national championships from 1966 to 1968. Coryell led teams reign supreme in Division II. They were twice unbeaten and untied teams, and also in 1968 as an independent. So it really started putting the Aztecs football program on the map and innovating in so many ways on the offensive side of the field.
Absolutely. Well-deserved, and finally, it took too long, as far as I'm concerned, for him to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, so better late than never.
So that will wrap up this edition of Aztecs All In, sounds like to me, Louis, because we don't want this episode to go on too long, do we? I'm Steve Perez for Louis Weiner, reminding you that you can send some fan mail, or you can send your little critiques that we may or may not read to our Aztecs
Critiques?
All In
What are you talking about?
Gmail account at aztecsallin@gmail.com, and also follow us on Twitter at Aztecs_all_in. No, on Twitter, or they're calling it the X, right? So that's the end of that. And for Louis Weiner, I'm Steve Perez saying thanks for catching us, and we'll talk to you again very soon.